So thank you everyone for coming. This is a presentation that got turned into a last-minute panel, so I deeply thank my panelists for deciding to go with me on this crazy adventure. I gave a 20-minute version of this talk, Giving Back to Drupal, at mid-camp, and I decided to kind of evolve it into, let's talk about all the things that people can do without having to write code. And I was outlining this discussion, and I was thinking, well, I could stand up here and talk to you guys for an hour about all the things that you can do to get back to this awesome project without having to write code. Or I could just invite some awesome people to come up, share their experiences, and also have them on hand to answer your questions better than I could answer. So let's get some quick introductions. My name's Anna Collada. I'm a freelance Drupal developer from Chicago. Been freelancing for 4.5 years. I've still been trying to do a little bit of everything in the community to really figure out where I fit. So this will probably be the last time I'm talking because I'm kind of freaked out about it. And that is another reason why I'm super grateful for my wonderful friends who have graciously agreed to come and speak to you guys today. And then we have
Ronay Brummett. Hold on, wait. Self-appointed Chief Wellness Officer.
Oh, nice! Wait, for the recording. Yes, for the recording.
For the recording, Ronay has just unveiled her original season blue tunic from Star Trek. Federation uniform.
Thank you.
She looks awesome.
All right.
I'm Kathy Thays. I'm YesCT on the internet. And I help a lot of people figure out how they can help Drupal. And also have like my own story of having done many different kinds of things to help along the way. Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm not a freelancer. I work for Blackmesh, and part of my job is to do that, is to help people figure out how to contribute and also work on Drupal 8.
I'm Angie. If you got up early this morning, you maybe already saw me. I work at Acquia. I basically work on the toughest problems in the Drupal community and solve them. So right now, the tough problem I'm working on is getting Drupal 8 released. But it's varied over the years to whatever the biggest thing holding Drupal back is. I try and kill it, and then we can go further and faster and more awesome and all that kind of stuff. So, and like Kathy, my job, I get paid full-time to just make that happen, which I'm incredibly grateful for because I could not do the types of things I'm doing if I also had a client at the same time. So.
Kevin Thull, freelance Drupal site builder from the Chicago area. I also help plan 2 camps in the Chicago area, and I think my biggest, to kind of quote one of your slides, running a camp and trying to get sessions recorded, it's like the systems that we have, that's dumb. It should be fixed, and I can do something about it. So I'm working on trying to develop a solution that's affordable and reliable and shippable from camp to camp.
Awesome.
I guess I never said what I actually do.
Right.
So what I've noticed with going to several Drupal camps throughout the year is that Drupalists don't take care of themselves. You don't eat right. You don't exercise. You don't sleep enough. You drink too much caffeine and alcohol. And so what I am here to do is to help remind you that while you are taking care of everything in the community, you also need to take care of yourself. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you are not able to continue to work in the community. So that's what I'm here for. So we have a wellness area set up on the 3rd floor next to the Awesome Room. Please come visit us. We have neck and arm massages and essential oils and a napping area that was well used yesterday. And while we're talking, I might just be working on panelists because that's what I do.
What's the matter with candy for breakfast?
Absolutely
Nothing.
nothing.
Put marshmallows on it.
They didn't have a snack up there. There's a candy-filled table, so what do you do?
This is the best panel I've ever been on.
No, come back. Let's go. No, come back.
I'll just fix it.
Okay. Awesome. And so that's a great segue into the first category of things that people can do to give back to the Drupal community, which is to support the people. One of the great ways that you can do that is to come to these events. So thanks to all of you. You are already giving back to the community just by being here, both for strength in numbers and for those spontaneous, serendipitous connections that you can have by running into somebody in the hallway, or playing Foursquare and crashing into somebody who's waiting in line because you're diving for the ball. So thank you to Wilbur for breaking my fall. But yeah, so it's great, and we're really happy that you're here. Other things you can do, you can organize events. Kevin's one of the organizers of different camps. The Twin Cities community has 3 different meetups. Wow, we can barely do one down in Chicago sometimes. And then also sometimes you can organize a sprint. There are global sprint weekends, different kind of collaborative get together, work on things that you can do not necessarily connected to a camp. You can also teach and present. And you can offer up your non-Drupal skills, which is one of the main reasons I invited everyone here to kind of, what are unique ways that you guys contribute in a not necessarily web developer focused way. So Kevin, you mentioned the video kits.
Right. Yeah, for me, getting it in, when I was first learning Drupal, camp videos were critical. So when I started getting to the point where I was involved in a camp, that was my big hot button, is we need to capture these sessions. And there was so much pushback too. It's like, oh, it's so much work. We don't really need to do that. How many people watched them last year? It's like, I don't care. I will take this on. It was important to me. It's going to be important to other people. So I just decided that's my thing. I also really, there's this stigma. So you go to D.O, you look at the issue queue, you look at all the blue names that have done things, and that's where all the recognition is. And so I don't code. I'm the front end guy, so I could never give back in that way. So that's when it dawned on me, well, I can give back in real life. So that's my contribution. It's recognized by the people I meet, which, again, I don't need the pat on the back, but I do want to be able to give back to the project. And I feel good about doing that because you guys, all the coders, all the people who write the software, they're doing the heavy lifting for me. So I want to be able to give back.
But don't underestimate the heavy lifting you're doing by making that educational resource available to people.
Oh, absolutely. But I couldn't figure out how to find my way in because okay, I can't write code. I'm great at breaking things, so the usability. I can work the issue queue as a user. Here's my problem. I'll test that patch. Oh, it worked, or it didn't. That's crucial too. Especially make good notes for future you when you're like, oh, hit this problem again. Oh, I found my note. I found my post or my bug report.
Yeah, I think
it's really I think finding a way to get in if it's not the obvious and traditional way can be tricky, and that's why talking about it is good.
A lot of the non-obvious ways are really, really cool because, like recording at things at camps or a lot of these other things, they don't just affect one person or one small area, but they have a massive effect, even though they may not have in the past gotten the recognition that they deserve, and we're changing that. But you record all the videos at a camp, and you've affected all of those presenters' lives,
right?
Because now they have a recording of them that they can use to get more speaking jobs, they can promote themselves, and they couldn't have done that without that. And then that's not even thinking about all of the people who are going to watch the presentation and learn from it for years.
Right.
Because the things that we talk about at events are still relevant years and years later. And so these non-codey ways of contributing are often have that kind of effect, where they have huge effects and not little localized ones. Although little localized ones are good too, but they're really great.
one of the ways that I guess I have contributed in a very non-technical way is just being someone people can talk to. I have dealt with every scenario you can imagine that could happen in a community, everything from like, I'm lost and I don't know where to start, to like, there was a death threat, what do we do? Every span of the thing. And I think that is something that is really important, to be able to like have a person that you can trust, that you can talk to, this kind of thing. And it's not, you know, not everyone can come into a community and be that person, but even just as simple as like, if someone asks you a question, you connect them with other people, that is a really key role that I think a lot of people can. And I don't know how many times I've been in a room with, there's this guy Kieran in our community, and he knows everybody in every company everywhere. And I've seen multiple times where it's like a security team is struggling with, I don't know why we can't figure out how to do the thing. He's like, I can connect you with so-and-so person at this and this a company and this and this and this. And it's amazing to have people like that, because a lot of us get a little siloed and we just know about the thing that we know about, and having people, and Kieran doesn't write a line of code. He has never written a patch in his life, but having those connections and stuff, and just think about like, you know, what you do for your friends and your family. You know, a community like Drupal is just people. So you can use those same skills that you use to help people in your lives to help the community as well. It just sometimes takes a little bit of creativity to, as you said, find your way in there, because it is still, unfortunately, a very developer-centric community, but we're trying really hard to change that.
Any questions on ideas that you might have, or things that you like to do outside of, you know, maybe a job or something?
I'm a designer turned developer, so I still don't know Git.
Good.
But I develop, applications and do web design, but I feel like I know enough, but there's so many little holes. And I similar to what I've been hearing in other people's stories, it's just hard to find your way in. But that said, I'm still a designer, and I also can't find my way in that way. Like, I've even asked people, like, can I make a standard for charts or any little things? And I found I don't know who to talk to. I don't know, like, if I just do something, I don't know who to send that to. I feel like part of the distribution of the community is the good thing about it, I think, leads to that. Do you have any specific advice for that, or is there a working group that handles this kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I guess the first, everyone else can answer this too. My first recommendation would be on groups.drupal.org, which is also the site with all the local user groups. So if you're from Mankato, Minnesota, there might be a local user group there. In addition to that, we have working groups, and one of them is designers in Drupal. And I don't know how active that group is, but that's where I would start. As these are sort of topical groups you can join, and there's going to be 1,200 other people there, and you can post their questions, or, this is what I'm thinking of doing and taking on, because I don't have an easy answer for you, unfortunately, because as a designer. I know we desperately need your help, because, man, when I try and design something, it looks like those horrible graphics that we saw during the presentation. It's terrible. And a big problem when, we did usability testing this week, and every time we do usability testing, the lack of cohesion is such a huge issue with people understanding Drupal, and I feel like if we had more people with your talents among the core development team, we would be much, much better off. So we don't, unfortunately, have a really great process. There is an IRC channel for designers. We use IRC for everything, because go 80s. We also have Billy Idol hairstyle. No, I'm just kidding. Well, kind of, But I would say some of those are a good way to get started. That would at least show you who the people are who know about things. So Louis Nyman is here. He would be a great person to talk to.
Yeah.
Morton is a person to talk to.
Are you going to be at the sprint?
Yeah.
Okay, so, one of the things that happens at sprints is that you can talk to people to find out who you should talk to. And a lot of times what will happen at the end of the day at the sprint is you won't have gotten anything done, but you will have a clear path forward for getting things done in the future. And I think talking to Louis is great, but he may tell you who to talk to. Right. So.
Yeah, I want to say I really appreciate all the encouragement to attend the sprint for non-designers. I think it needed to be said a lot, and I'm glad that it was, because I feel like if I go there trying to be a developer, I'm just going to be a bother to everybody. But all the encouragement I've been hearing from the organizations during the keynote, that made me very confident that I'm definitely going.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that a lot.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
And there's been a definite namespace change. It was always the code sprint.
Yeah.
And that's very intimidating, because who doesn't code? Why would I go there?
Yeah.
So now they're just sprints.
Yeah.
Contribution sprints or
Contribution, yeah.
something.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I'm really proud of the Drupal project, is when I was just at Open Source Bridge in Portland yesterday, and there were tons of people, like leaders from other open source projects there, and I could go there and I could tell them, you know, I'm involved with the Drupal community, and I could be really proud. I'm proud of Drupal, but I'm proud of the way that Drupal has evolved over the years to be better. Like, thinking about what words we use and being really careful about them has a big effect. And Drupal's one of the open source projects that really does that. So like, and we've had these changes over the years. Like at Bad Camp last time, the signs to like direct you towards the sprint said like code sprint on this, and I had arrows and stuff. And I took a big black Sharpie and I crossed out code, and I wrote, I don't remember what I wrote,
was
like contributor sprint, and like I drew like a little fist pump and I totally like graffitied them, and it was super fun. Like it was a happy, fun kind of a graffiti, and it was like changing the way that we talk about it. And I was just talking to one of the people from the DA about Barcelona, and they said, hey, we're working on making the signage. I know we talked about possibly changing the name of the Coder Lounge for LA, you know, but we decided not to. Should we do it for Barcelona? And I'm like, yes, we can. Because I think maybe in LA people weren't quite ready for it, but I think we're more ready now. Because I heard about another camp recently who changed the name of their Coder Lounge to Learning Lounge. Which has a nice alliteration, and I didn't think like Learning Lounge quite was the right label for us, but I'm like, you know what, if these little camps are already recognizing that this name is not conducive or representative of what even happens in the room, then DrupalCon is ready.
Yep, for sure. And Todd touched on this, you know, on his keynote yesterday. It's like language really matters. You know, his I versus we, that's huge. And so is the, you know, contributor sprint versus the coder sprint. One of them is extremely exclusive, and it says, you're only welcome here if you know this much. The other one says, hey, come on, everybody can come here. We could probably name it the everyone sprint. Maybe that would be more. So we'll work on the language a little bit. But yeah, like Kathy, I'm proud of our community for really taking that commitment seriously.
Well, here's another way too, is you have significant others in your life that might like to spend an entire day with you, but they don't know any coding whatsoever. Guess what? I need volunteers.
Hey,
So if you have somebody who wants to come to the sprint tomorrow, I can show them some quick things to do and to help relieve some pain that's happening physically within other people. So that's awesome.
Yeah, there's, so like, there are a lot of volunteers that make things happen without even sitting at their computers. And so at a bigger event, a key thing is just having volunteers at the event, like maybe wearing special colored shirts or have special like identifying things on their badges, and they're just like volunteers. And they can just be like beacons where if you have a question, you can go to that person and they can help you get the answer. And those are really important, just like standing at the entrance and like pointing which way to go, or like which way is lunch, or things make everybody there feel better about being there. And so there's just tons of things you can do without having to sit at your computer at all. I mean, even testing and designing and things like that, you're still, you know, working. Like, you know, Anna mentioned Global Sprint Weekend, and one of the things about that is those sprints are designed to be super small and to have a really low barrier of entry for organizers. And so saying to yourself, oh my God, like it's too overwhelming to have a 50-person Drupal 8 critical sprint. Like my company could never host that, I could never host that. But a thing like Global Sprint Weekend, it's like, can be on any topic that you want at all, and you can have 3 to 8 people there. And that's much more accessible for a company and an organizer to do. So, like, sometimes you need money, sometimes you need space, sometimes you need a person who's going to be at the sprint, who's not going to do any work at all, and is just going to, like, make sure there's water and lunch comes.
Sometimes you need pizza.
And people buying pizza for you is highly appreciated.
Yeah.
Even if you do get food poisoning from the tacos that you got on the
Oh,
sprint
no.
weekend, that was not fun.
Oh.
I got an oil for that.
This was back, where were you in January? Come on. David, you had a question?
I didn't have a question. I had a suggestion for the gentleman here trying to contribute to Drupal by doing design. I think saying that you want to design for Drupal is a sort of nebulous, hazy idea, that it might be easier to pick some specific local piece of Drupal and say, I'm going to contribute design to that. Like if you have a local meetup or something, you can help do the design for that. If you have a favorite module or something, like you can say, okay, what are the design needs for this specific project, and then do the work for that. And I think that's an easier way to get in because you know who to talk to, because it's like there's 2 or 3 people in charge. And the needs are super specific and concrete, whereas like, what does Drupal design mean? Like that's almost philosophical, right? So that was just my suggestion.
Although if there's an admin page that really just ticks you off and offends you, you know, that could be a place. Like there was a sprinter at, where was it? In Australia, at whatever, Drupal South. And she was offended by how bad the appearance settings page was. It was like, what? What is this? What? You know, and she was really mad that like the field sets were all wrong and everything else. And she just dove in and was like, I'm going to redesign this page for it to be much, much better. And it was great. I'm sorry too. Yeah. Anyway, so a lot of stuff in Drupal gets done because it really irritates you. Like I'm still working on fixing forums. I worry that once forum signatures actually work the way they should, that I will have nothing else.
I had a slightly off-topic question, but I couldn't resist it with such a big group of high-level contributors to the whole environment. I'm not American, as you can probably tell.
Really?
How important do you think it was or is that Dries is not American? How does that contribute to the general philosophy groupthink? Comparing Drupal with something like Microsoft or Apple that are American companies and have American philosophy.
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. I don't know if it's purely a European attribute or not, though, because like Linus is also European, and he manages his project completely differently than Dries manages his project. Like Dries is a very egalitarian, like he's my boss, so I can say this firsthand. It's like his whole shtick is like, here's a thing that needs to get done, and it's really important, and you go ahead and figure out how to get that done. And that's been his attitude pervasively throughout. And he'll find people, he's really good at this. He's really good at finding someone who's ticked off about a thing and saying, there you go. You're empowered. Go make that happen. If they're like, what? Oh, okay. And then they run with it and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's a European attribute because like the way I understand that Linus runs his project is more like there's some belittling that happens, and there's some, why are you wasting my time with this and this kind of stuff. So I don't know that it's European per se, but there's definitely like this feeling of egalitarianism, feeling of empowerment that he tries really hard to impart on people. And yeah, Drupal didn't have a business model. I mean, still doesn't. It's a an open source piece of software, but it started as a dorm room project, and just kind of grew from there. So I think it had more to do with the organic roots of Drupal and Dries' individual personality, more so than a European versus North American thing. Versus like when Bill Gates started Microsoft, he was there to make money. Like that's what he wanted to do with that thing. He didn't want to solve a problem he was having. He wanted to, I don't think he ever envisioned becoming a gazillionaire, but I'm sure he was in it for the business. So that's my feeling. I don't know if other people have.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the general worldwide participation in Drupal definitely has an effect because you're constantly faced with dealing with people who are different than you, and then that really helps makes this a good project.
Did you have a?
I just have I guess a couple things. So I'm not a good coder either, and I feel usually in stuff like this, I usually kind of feel apologetic about it because I just don't get it. I am an illustrator though, but I'm curious about why the whole Sprint thing is all the way out in. Yeah, and I understand. I mean, the Nerdery does a lot. I mean, they're the local business. I see their name attached to many, many things. And while I certainly appreciate that, I guess I would have given more thought to going out there, except that it's out there, and I personally would need to have a car to go out there, which I don't.
That's why we have volunteers.
We
to
can
take
drive
you.
you.
Right, but I also have other stuff going on tomorrow, and so I had to decide that I wasn't going to go because I had too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
But so I'm just wondering why all of a sudden there's this thing way out there, and is there some reason why that couldn't have been contained in this facility?
I can only guess.
Well,
As a camp organizer who deals with venues and the costs behind them, there's a couple possibilities. I don't know the reason for Twin Cities, but venue rental's expensive.
Yeah, and I understand that part
so
too.
it could be budgetary. Maybe this venue's not even available on Sundays. Some venues you can't even be there on a Sunday. So logistics is possibly a reason. Cost is possibly a reason. And
I
then
think
also-
money is probably a
Yeah,
factor.
Money's
because
a huge reason.
And the
they've done
Nerdery's
for
probably giving you
years,
free.
too.
So.
They're probably
Yep.
giving the space
Yeah.
free, and they're feeding people, so that's very budget relieving. So
And the other
that'd be
thing
my
that
guess.
we can do at the Nerdery that we may not be able to do here is like structure the rooms. So like having a Sprint in this kind of room is terrible.
Yeah.
Because you can't sit together at a round table or like
Right.
face each other.
And they've got space there where you can't do that. I mean, I've been
Right.
there. I know what
They're
it's like.
also
And they have a
they're-
TARDIS.
they do have a TARDIS.
David's awesome.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, not a working TARDIS. That would just solve the problem.
Wait, what?
But they're also wiring up all of the tables with Ethernet. Because when you have 60 people in one place, all using the internet, it
Network.
crashes.
Yeah.
And the wireless in some locations can't handle that.
Right.
And because they own the space,
Yeah.
they're physically changing it for us.
Yeah, there is that. All of which are very good reasons.
Now, I will say-
I just thought I'd comment.
No, I will say
No,
that
it is frustrating.
Yeah.
It is
at
frustrating.
many events, there can be unofficial sprints at the sprint space. So like in the awesome room, there are probably people sprinting.
There are. And they're awesome.
And so like if this is your only day and you can't come tomorrow, like skip the sessions, they're recorded.
Yep.
Get
out of here.
And
This session is terrible.
Yeah. And go hang out in the awesome room and sprint today.
Yeah.
Like do your thing that you want to do tomorrow, like do it today.
Yeah.
I don't even have a laptop.
That's okay.
But we
I
could
have a
talk
desktop
about,
at my home.
but we could talk about the problem of like, what can I do? How can I get involved? And using maybe your phone, we can, look up web pages on the internet and be like, okay, this is the page, this is the documentation page that you've been missing your whole life. Like we can show you that. The other thing is, this doesn't help you with this event right now, is there can also be smaller sprints right before events that may not be as well publicized as the big like get involved day, which is typically at the end after we like rally everybody up and we'd be like, you should contribute, and then we have the get involved day at the end. But there can be little ones at the beginning. So like for example, on the training day here on Thursday, there was also a sprint, and the sprint was free.
I didn't know that.
I asked if anyone was sprinting, and they said that nobody was this time. Last year they did, but
In general,
I heard
there's
there
always
was.
sprinting going on. Just need to find
Yeah.
find where the people are.
I would assume there is.
There's definitely sprinting happening upstairs, and one of the sprints doesn't require a laptop at all. They're trying to write the Drupal 8 user manual, and they've got an outline, and it would be really helpful if people who don't know Drupal 8 could go there and talk to them about it. Because the intent is for the user manual to help people who don't know Drupal 8, and the people who know Drupal 8 are writing it. So it would be super, super good if you, even, if you are, if you feel like I can't code and stuff. But I did want to comment on that. I know it's not related exactly to your question. So I ran Drupal Chicks for many years. Drupal Chicks is it's now called Women in Drupal or something, but it's the get-together we have at every DrupalCon where all the women kind of get together in the same room. It's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous. No, it's not. But, it's like, hi, I'm Angie, and I do web development. But what I found fascinating about that is these were all women who knew enough about Drupal to pay to attend a DrupalCon. So they were in it. They had drunk the Kool-Aid, whatever they were doing. And two things struck me by that. One, almost everybody in the room came from a non-computer science background. I was a librarian, and I was the most technical person at my library, so I became the webmaster. I used to stamp quartz at a paperwork. I have an anthropology degree. Just around the table, I was an outlier because I, went to community college and I took a course on web design and stuff. But that was very unusual. Everybody else came from a non-traditional background.
Must be an oddball with that because I have a computer science degree.
There you go. We're oddball, yeah. And then the second thing that I noticed about that was everyone universally would say, well, I'm not really a coder. But, and then they would be like, but I write themes, or I copy and paste snippets and I make them work, or I do this. And I'm like, that is literally all coders do. They find other people's work, they copy and paste it out of Stack Overflow, and they make it work. That is what coders do. So I just want to challenge you. It is totally fine if you're not a coder, and I don't judge anyone in that way. But don't undersell yourself, because if you're doing coding-related things and you have ever debugged a thing and fixed the semicolon that was in the wrong place, you are a coder.
I just make boring beautiful. That's my goal.
That I can't do at all. So that is amazing.
User manual probably use diagrams and
Yes, I was thinking that too. Yeah. So anyway, check it out. I encourage you to. And that's here in the venue. It's just upstairs. And they're nice rolly chairs.
It's upstairs in the other building, but the chairs are amazing.
In
Just
the
go there
awesome
just
room?
to see
In the
the
awesome
chairs.
room.
Which is right
And then
next
you
to
can
the
go get a
wellness
massage in the wellness room. Yes.
Yeah, my bicep needs some work.
We're also doing stretching at 3:15
Yeah, so don't forget that.
and some aromatherapy to wake up rather than drinking more caffeine.
Yes. Say, Renee, I have a question for you, which is how is it that you got into the Drupal community, and why are you sitting on this panel today?
Well, I have a cousin who's highly involved in the Drupal community and said, hey, come check this out. And we were at Nice Camp last year, and he said, oh, well, I'm sure no one would be interested in your aromatherapy thingies. And I was like, okay, fine. So I'm at Nice Camp, and I was talking with somebody at Blink Reaction.
Okay.
I was at the table, and it was John DeSalvo.
Yep.
I think and John was yawning and just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. And I was like, hey, you want to try something? He's like, sure, what do you got? So I pulled out some peppermint and wild orange, and I put a drop in each hand, and I said, smell them individually, and I was doing my thing. Next thing I know, there's 8 sets of hands all lined up. And then people were like, oh my gosh, this really works to wake up. I'm like, yeah. And somebody else came up and said, well, I've got a headache. I said, oh, I've got something for that. And then somebody else had a cold. And next thing I know, I'm just working. I'm doing my thing. And then I just started observing the community. And again, you guys really need to take care of yourselves and drink more water. The most important thing you guys can drink is water. And just, so that's how I got involved, was I just saw a need, and I thought, well, this is something I can help out with.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. That is how everyone gets involved.
And now you have a Drupal site.
I do. So what's awesome is I was at Bad Camp, and I ran into Stan Asher, A-S-C-H-E-R, and Steve Musical. I can't pronounce it.
That's okay.
That's the one. And Stan and Steve are awesome. And they said, hey, we're looking for a project to work on. And I said, I've got a small project for you to work on. And I ended up, they built my website. It's ronebrummett.com in Drupal, and I paid them in essential oils.
There's also another way that you contributed quite recently.
Oh.
In the pre-note. This was, who's seen the pre-note from DrupalCon LA? This was Ariel.
Yeah.
Long red wig and terrible outfit, but
Yeah,
that was
if you
fantastic.
haven't seen the recording of it on
It is
YouTube,
epic.
It's awesome.
I highly recommend it. I think people who come to tech conferences, depending upon conferences that you've been to in the past, what type they are, or maybe if you're coming to your first one, they plan to spend their whole entire conference like accomplishing things and learning all this stuff and like going all day long. And Susan can speak to how she found that to be overwhelming and mentally and physically draining. And Susan actually wrote a really good blog post. She attended MidCamp. It was her first tech event. It was a good one because it was a Drupal one. And she wrote up a blog post about her experience as somebody coming to any tech event and a Drupal event for the first time. And it's a really good one. And one of the things that she wrote about in there was that she wanted to, on purpose, schedule a part of her day where she didn't do anything. Like she wasn't talking to people or in a session or whatever, because she found that to be, I think I'm saying it right, she found that to be important to take care of herself, even though she was at an event. And, you know, so I hear that from individuals, right? I experience it because I know Rhone makes my body better, because my wrists with the computer and stuff just are better afterwards. And as I'm going to all these other conferences, like the one I was just at, they had a quiet room, and they had chair massages, and so good communities and good conferences. I think we're going to see that a lot more. That it's like on the schedule that you should take care of yourself. Like it's part of the event, that the organizers of the event want the people who attend the event to be okay. So it's really nice to see that shift.
Yeah, it's really nice because it is so important to take care of yourself and to take care of each other. And what I found up in the wellness area too is it's a great place to sit and chat with friends too. Mm-hmm. You know, so work is still happening while you're taking care of yourself, or non-work related stuff. You know, just getting to know people in the community. I think one of my favorite things is this is such an amazing open community. I mean, sure, I make friends easily because I rub oils on them, but it's more than that. I am completely tech illiterate, and no one has ever made me feel stupid. In fact, last year I came to the Build a Module, and he sat down with me and spent so much time helping me in a way that I felt empowered, rather than, wow, you really don't know how to like set up a view or, you know, put in a block, or, you know, like just all this stuff. Right. Where
he didn't treat you like that.
Yeah. Exactly, and now I can do that because I am able to put stuff into my own website. The website was built for me, but along that process, they taught me what I needed to know so that I could upload my own blog posts and pictures and stuff like that. So that's really amazing.
I find the Drupal community is, like, I've seen other communities. The worst example is I went to South by Southwest like 1 year, and that was just awful. It was like, oh, first I'm going to scan your name badge to see if you're even worth talking to, and then, you know, blah, 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 blah. But, like, in Drupal, it's like, it's not like, oh, you don't know that. It's like, oh, you don't know that? Well, let me tell you about it, because it's so awesome. And, like, you can do this and this and this, and there's this module, and there's that module, and talk to him, and blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like people get so excited about empowering other people to know as much as they do, because they understand that, like, the more people that come into this community, the more we share knowledge with each other, the better we become. And I think that's, like, a fundamental part of our community DNA, and I'm happy to hear that that's still the case. That's awesome.
So how do you guys think, how can you, so we have, you know, people who are providing technical experience, providing wellness experience, providing design experience, providing translations, doing usability testing. How can we recognize those contributions and let people know that just how valuable that work is for the project as a whole?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We do a crappy job right now of recognizing any contributions other than the developer who committed the code right now on Drupal.org.
Except for the last month.
Yes, so the last couple of months, actually since March, I think, or something. But anyway, so now we have the ability to credit an organization who funded you to work on a thing. So you can say, I can say, on every comment I make, I'm like, Acquia is paying me to make this. They're not paying me to make that comment, but they're sponsoring my time, and I can credit them for that. Or you can credit a customer who is paying you to figure out a gnarly bug and get that organization credit for that. And then core committers, and I hope that this is true across the board, but we need to do more work here. At least for myself, I really look when I'm looking at an issue, which is what we use to solve a problem. It's a bunch of comments and people going back and forth. I really try to seek out people who have been involved and contributed in a meaningful way. They uploaded screenshots of the problem, or they helped review the patch, helped explain what happened when they did it, and that kind of thing. And I make a conscientious effort to check off all of those names. So not just the developers, but also the people who helped contribute in other ways. The disadvantage of that, so it's good in that we've expanded it from just committers to now anyone who participated in the issue, potentially. But we need to go beyond that, because like stuff that Kevin is doing, or stuff that Renee is doing, we don't have a way to track that on the website at all.
Unless those people edit their profiles themselves in the free text area.
Right.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
And are confident enough to toot their own horn. And that can be difficult for some people, because they have to write down, I'm doing this awesome thing, and it's great because, and here's all the ways I'm being awesome. That can be really hard for somebody to do. It's a lot easier for me to pick out a profile and be like, oh, this person is great, right? And we don't have a tool to do that. And so, like, we use Twitter to do it, right? We're like, or like credits at the end of a camp event, or like highlighting people at the beginning in a keynote, right? And recognizing people that have done something in the community. Like, right now it's very kind of organic, and there's no tool.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I can tell you for me today, when you, like, my picture was up there and you mentioned me in the keynote, and that was, well, words of praise are my love language, so I was like, hey, it's me,
Yeah,
yay!
but I mean, I thought it was so cool, because it's like every single person up there, including yourself, are contributing in a totally different way. And only like 2 of those people had actually written a patch to Jubilee. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everyone else had contributed. So yeah, no problem. Thank you for contributing in that way.
Well, thanks.
You're right, we don't have a tool. One way that we're attempting to systematize it a little bit is this is an initiative that came out from Leslie Hawthorne from the Elasticsearch community. It's a hashtag on Twitter, and it's a terrible hashtag.
It is.
It's LABHR, let's all build a hat rack. And you can talk about people who have done cool things that are not developer related at all. The origin of the hashtag is...
Hat rack would have been better.
I said that. But I looked, and people actually use pound hat rack to talk about hat racks. But yeah, so it's a terrible thing, and I asked if we could change it, but it was too late. It's fine, but the Let's All Build a Hat Rack initiative is really neat, because it was Leslie's a person I know her from Google originally. She helped run Google Summer of Code for a number of years, and she was switching careers, and she was like, God, I have nothing out there that has my thing. Like, if we're a developer, you can go to our GitHub profile, or you can go to our Drupal.org profile, and there'll be a bunch of stuff there about everything that we've done. But if you're on more of the management side, you're on the project manager, you're in an empowering situation for other people, you got nothing. All of your work took place in email. It took place in like private issue trackers with a client or whatever. So the initiative is, when you see someone doing something really awesome like that would not normally be promoted in that way, fire them off, shout it on Twitter with this tag, or write them a LinkedIn recommendation. That's a really big one. There's a lot of different things that you can do when you see that stuff to call it out, because there's no reason that Kevin shouldn't get a lot of credit for what he's doing just because we don't have tools to track it on Drupal.org yet. So we'll work on that.
Yeah. So, Anna, do you have any ideas for what we should do to recognize?
Not really, it's hard. I was thinking just, inviting you guys all to talk about your things, and I'm sure there are other people in the audience who might have things that they want to toot their own horn. Come on.
All right, cool. Some kind of oddball here.
So I know, Susan, you do a cool thing. Not to call you out, but it's really cool. So can you talk about the test that you're writing and stuff?
I'm writing BHAT tests for a website that Kathy dragged me into.
And what are BHAT tests?
BHAT tests are behavior-driven. I write things in English that say, administrator, I need to be able to log into this page in order to blank. And then I write a little test that behind the scenes can go and automatically check all these things, so I don't have to do it manually.
Yeah.
We can tell all the time that the website is working and doing what we need it to do.
Yeah, and Behat tests are amazing because not only is there, we have automated tests in Drupal and they're all very silly and they test like, does this input match this output? And brr, brr, brr. These are more high level. They're actually describing how the website is intended to work. And you can show that to the client and say, yes, that's what I mean, or no, that's not what I mean at all. And then you write the automated test behind it to prove that that stays working, which is really, really awesome because it's a way for the client to be empowered to define the functionality of their website rather than trusting a developer to read in the right information from looking at a comp. So I think that's really great that you've been able to bring that sort of methodology into your website.
Can I just say something about Behat tests?
Yeah.
So,
Wait, first you have to say like who you are and what things you do, because
Okay.
people need to know that.
I'm David Snowbeck. I guess the most important, the most salient thing here is I'm one of the co-maintainers of Panoply. And in Panoply, we have a Behat test suite, which has revolutionized the development that we do for the developers. But more than that, it's provided this really cool road for non-technical people to participate. Since we've started promoting this idea at our sprints, like at the sprint at DrupalCon LA, we're super successful at getting a whole bunch of non-technical people to come and make tests and make our lives as the developers so much better, and it's just been really cool. Constantly, we're always saying, you don't have to be a developer to contribute, come, and people still self-exclude. But then with the Behat thing, for whatever reason, it's kind of struck a chord. When we explain it and describe what it is and how it helps us, like it's really helped getting more non-technical people to contribute.
That's awesome.
Cool. One other way that everybody can contribute, and I hope that you do, or you get your employers to, your bosses to, your company to do, is to give money. Money does make the world go round, and it is essential to be able to put on these events. We need sponsors to get things done, to give us, to help us afford space, to help us afford food. People will, to host a meetup, just that's offering something that you have that you can offer to the community, and that is super essential and greatly appreciated.
All that food last night was wonderful.
Yeah, that was
Oh my
crazy.
God, that hummus. I could have just sat there and ate chips and hummus. Oh, with the cheese and tomato things.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
I could have ate that. Yeah, I'm starving. I didn't-
Well, it is. We are getting to lunchtime, so.
So one thing about money, do we have any minutes left?
Yes, we have 5 minutes left.
Okay, so one thing about money is I think when people give, in general, when people give money to either the Drupal Association or the D8 Accelerate or to a camp or a meetup, or when a business allocates their internal resources and tells those people that they can spend some of their time doing some things that help, I think that money and those resources get used extremely efficiently. Like, the organizers of camps are acutely aware that they cannot waste any money, and they feel like they have been entrusted with somebody's money, and they are going to spend it in like the best way possible, and always looking to like be efficient and make sure that the money that gets spent has an effect that's going to make something better. It's going to make the project better, or it's going to make the camp better. And if we had more money, we wouldn't just have like nicer badges or like higher quality coffee at the breaks. Like, with more sponsorship money, we can actually do more. We have a lot of ideas of ways to improve things. People are really good at being introspective and being like, we just did this thing. Now let's talk about it for 4 hours and take notes about, in a Google Doc.
Except for the take notes part.
About like how we could do better. And because of that, things are constantly getting better, but not fast enough, in part because of a lack of resources. We don't have a lack of ideas about how to make things better, but we do have a lack of resources to implement them. And it won't make an incremental difference. Like $5,000 more to a camp isn't going to make the camp a little bit better. It could provide live captioning for every single talk that's given, and then that turns into a transcript, which is then searchable, which makes the information not only accessible to people who can't digest it without it, but makes people even able to find the content at all, because now it's written down, right? Like, so anyway, money is really important, and I think we're really conscious about how we spend it, and always trying to like really make a big difference with it.
I'll tell my boss to give you guys money. Michael Lynn, give these guys money.
Awesome.
Because he's listening in?
I'm Michael Lynn. I'm my boss.
It is true though, like, I'm on the D8 Accelerate committee, and so I review all the D8 Accelerate is set up as a grants program, so people can say, please give me $500 so I can do X, or please give me $2,000 so I can fly in people to my camp so we can do a sprint on X, or this kind of thing. And we are like extremely cautious about how we spend that money and make sure that, like, this is an awesome idea, this is an amazing idea, it will not actually cause Drupal 8 to come out faster, so the answer is no. We do a lot of that kind of thing where we really carefully manage the community's money and make sure that we are spending it in the best way possible. So yeah, and that's been my experience with everyone across the board. There is nobody who's like, woo, dollar bills, y'all, or anything like that. Like, we really are, we recognize it's a huge sacrifice people are making. And I like to say, like, if you have more time than money, you should contribute to Drupal and come to sprints and do that kind of thing. If you have more money than time, then give us the money. We will get the right people at the sprints to make things happen. And that's kind of how that works.
Cool. Any other questions before we break for lunch? No. Awesome. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you to